swapped around a little bit. Players are seemingly pretty happy with it after some button checks and kind of just testing it out. So we're getting ready to go. Our first matchup on stream is going to be Mr. E versus JeJaJeJa. Two players we have seen on stream before. In terms of previous matchups between these players, 7-2 set count in favor of Mr. E, 19-10 game count, and a lot of their games were played in person. There's only a few Wi-Fi sets here, so a lot of this experience is actually exactly how we have it right now, side by side.
That's exactly how these players want it. That's how we want it. It's going to be Lucina against Kirby. Obviously, we've been seeing these guys running these characters for a lion's share of the day, so we're going to see if Mr. E can continue. I think this is lowers as well. Yeah, this is lowers.
Lowers round one.
Loser is going to be done, and looking at the rest of the bracket, there are some bangers coming up.
Yeah, here, first matchup of the top 8. JeJa, a player who, I gotta be honest, granted, we saw JeJa on stream more than a few times, whereas we caught Mr. E once in the game where he did actually, in the set where he fell down to losers.
Yep.
But I think JeJa, just in terms of on stream especially, has looked a lot cleaner this tournament than Mr. E. That's just from my personal kind of experience watching just my observations here. Right now, Mr. E actually completely has a handle on the game, controlling center stage very, very well. Great tech there. Actually back up onto the stage. 160 still alive somehow from JeJa. I didn't know you were actually playing Bowser, not Kirby.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the fact that JeJa was actually able to turn that around and finds the first stock at 160 plus. What a way to kick it off. And you said JeJa has looked a little bit better the last few days. I co-signed that statement, and right there, just stayed true to himself, didn't worry about the damage, walked out there, got a stock, and is now looking to do some more.
Yeah, maybe I was right. Maybe I was not wrong to pull out that statement, but nonetheless, Mr. E brings it back pretty swiftly, and you got to expect it to come back soon, right?
Yeah.
180%, something like that F-tilt will kill. Ed Evans back to it. And Mr. E, if he can just keep playing his game plan, if he can just kill in center stage, but JeJa does not want to allow that to happen, and we've seen that up in just about every matchup, whether it be an unfavorable matchup or not for Kirby, against something like the Lucas, he's just willing to go in and kind of, well, he did lose that set against
So
Lucas,
maybe he's willing to.
but he's willing to put it all on the line, and you got to remember that set ended with Regalo just absolutely.
And sometimes you tip your cap and you say, you know what, I got outmatched this game. I played extremely well. You played 5% better, and sometimes it only takes that 5% to push yourself into that series lead. Now, we talked about JeJa, horrible start to the game. Basically, it was 160-30, has now taken control of the game, has the one stock lead, has a little bit of wiggle room to maybe get some more damage in, and Mr. E just got to make sure you tighten things up.
Really? Stick to your guns. Stick to your swords in this case.
Maybe switch to some guns if the swords don't.
Gotta find a nice character with the.
I think Kirby would just absorb the bullets and reflect them back out.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, you can grab projectiles. Well, you can't spit them back out like you can. Well, you can spit out a little star.
Yeah, just a little extra. Now we are going to see, though, 80% on Mr. E. JeJa could potentially look for the finish. If they can get a nice setup here, if they can regain control of the stage, it could be in a situation where this game could be over in a matter of seconds, but we are going to be down to the last stock. 80% buffer for JeJa. Can they find the finish?
Not done just yet, but JeJa with 80%, something like even a forward throw. There's the back throw, actually, to send him off stage. JeJa likes going deep, but he's also very safe getting back to the ledge, so typically not getting punished for that. But at this percent, we've seen him take things such as a forward throw, easily convert it into a kill, especially towards the ledge. Luckily, Mr. E safe near center stage for now, but that percentage, man, it's getting more dangerous.
I think Mr. E's playing well. He's finding a couple small windows, but ultimately you are so far behind that you've got to really buckle up here. You've got to dial in, start putting on a little bit of pressure. The way they're playing right now, you're not going to be walking away with the dub, and that is going to be JeJa. Not the greatest start to the set, but it's not how you start. It is how you close. Iced up and got the Game 1 win.
Yeah, and I mean, based on the eye test there in Game 1, looks like the prediction ranged true. I think JeJa He's just a little more on it this weekend, if I gotta be honest.
Yeah, Mr. E looked a little bit, you don't want to discredit the other play, but looked a little bit not like we have seen even at Fisher and stuff.
Yeah, 100%, and you know, it is what it is, really, but going into this one, S-5 set, longer set than you had previously in pools. Mr. E, both of these players had their losing sets.
Yep.
They're in this loser's bracket, looking to try and face, presumably soon, either of Sonics and Lima. So the winner of this is going to play the loser of Sonics and Lima. That is going to be a crazy matchup in winner's bracket as well. Mr. E just completely controlling the ledge, and JeJaJeJa cannot make it back. An early stock for Mr. E, a great way to kind of take your game back, take your series back as you get into game 2. JeJaJeJa, though,
nice.
Remember what happened last game, how Mr. E had such a great start?
Yep.
JeJaJeJa knows exactly how to turn it around.
Yeah, that's the good thing, too. Keep that morale up. Keep the consistency. Your game has been working all weekend long. You've been finding success with this Kirby into so many different matchups. Just stay true to yourself. Don't try to do too much and play outside of yourself right now. Mr. E, this is the thing, too. Loser's bracket, going down 2-0 would be criminal to the mental potentially, but that is a great way to kick things off. A much more dominant game out of Mr. E. It's been under 1 minute, and we have 1 stock left.
Crazy because last game was like a 4-5 minute game, and now it is just nothing but hands. I love this. You know, we saw a lot of longer sets. You know, the Mega Man Mario set ended up taking us to like 20 seconds left in all of these games. Meanwhile, we've got spikes coming out barely 2 minutes into the game. Not gonna kill though. It actually just barely tapped that ledge and was able to make it back.
So scary for me. Know that your tournament life is potentially riding on how this game finishes. You've got to see if you can find the last sweet spot. JeJaJeJa has been so consistent, so effective, a variety of attacks, a variety of getting in the mix, confusing the opponent, just continuously digging in his bag, and he's got a 2-0 game lead.
Already, JeJaJeJa in complete opposite fashion of game 1. Like a minute 40 in that game, I think was our final time. Maybe we hit 2 minutes, but I was so into it because it was just back and forth, back and forth. Nobody was giving an inch, but also it's just, there was nobody was ahead for the entire time. It was like, oh, Mr. E grabs a kill, JeJaJeJa grabs a kill, back forth.
My turn.
Mr. E looks like he has the crazy spike to finish the game, and it's just barely not enough. The stage saving JeJaJeJa for the time being and keeping them a 2-0 lead, brings them to the victory.
That's why it's so hard, too, because if you're Mr. E, it doesn't feel like you played bad either of those games. They were both winnable. I mean, you had a good lead in that last game. Things just started to slip away. You got to find a way to ice up in the end of that game. Otherwise, this is going to be potentially looking at the barrel of a 3-0. Although, again, where have we seen this before? He gets off to this blazing hot start, and then slowly but surely, JeJaJeJa just takes over the game, finds perfect setups, plays the stage perfectly, and ultimately puts himself in position like that.
Yeah, it's weird that the first stocks and so many of these matchups seem to always be the same, and then those last two just completely throw us off guard. Already, though, minute into this game, no kills just yet. A much, much more calm game. And if we do see a bit of action towards center stage, stock just yet. For E, trying to play the ledge, presumably looking for some kind of back air to come off the ledge there. That would be a good kill option onto this Kirby. Great invincibility, the tech. JeJaJeJa still in it.
I thought for sure that was going to be on the money, but great read by Mr. E is going to end up keeping that 3 stock online for the time being. JeJaJeJa, they're both trying to play off the side of the stage, but Mr. E will take the first stock yet again, but we've said it time and time again this series. It is how you finish, and Mr. E has got a long way to finish this series. It starts with 1 game, but you've got a reverse sweep, and you've got to start right now.
Back from JeJaJeJa. Ow! Mr. E has been one of the only people in this tournament who has been able to deal with the downbeat off the ledge from JeJaJeJa. It's been tough. We saw Lucas get killed by it multiple times. Regalo, that's a player who's in the winner's bracket who was able to take down JeJaJeJa. Meanwhile, Mr. E seems just unfazed by it every time.
And I think playing against the Kirby, you have to know that's going to be one of the things, especially if he's been watching the games earlier in the day. That was basically the bread and butter. This is where I'm going to go to the well. I'm going to my signature move time and time again. And if you're JeJaJeJa, really want to try to get this stock nice and early. Mr. E, though, great start to the game. Only 76 on JeJaJeJa. Got a little bit of time still to work. Got to see control of the stage and slowly work your way back into the...
JeJaJeJa went really deep for that last stock, and it did pay off pretty well. Just barely unable that recovery, and with 5 jumps on a character like Kirby, right, it's kind of where you want to play. You want to force your hand off stage. You want to try and do that, but also we're seeing under the stage, if JeJaJeJa has missed, it ends up missing like 1 tech. We're seeing it right there. As I was saying it, misses a tech off the side of the stage and immediately into the blast zone. The up Bs from Lucina, you cannot mess with them. You have to respect that off stage.
And not only if Mr. E wins this, it's going to be so good for the confidence, especially if you get a nice, clean win where you win front to back just like that. That is step 1 to get back in the series. That is step 1 of the reverse sweep. A lot of work still to be done, but that was a vastly different performance.
That's the thing about reverse sweep situations. It goes 1 game at a time, and I'm thinking we're going to see progress being made from Mr. E 1 game at a time. We saw a great game from them there, really adapted to JeJaJeJa's play style, not being phased, as I mentioned, from the down B off the ledge. Great way to force him having... JeJaJeJa is in a tech situation under that stage like 10 times a stock, and somehow is still able to hit them. Like, shoutouts to JeJaJeJa for hitting all of those techs, but also eventually you're going to miss one, right? We see stocks being lost from that as well. Mr. E starting to find things that really do stick.
Yeah, you got to continue to find that formula, find new ways to keep adjusting, keep JeJaJeJa guessing, because now he's going to start to make some counter reads, right? When you're winning, you don't have to make as many adjustments. And when you finally lose, and lose in pretty emphatic fashion, now you have some things to look at. You can look inside, what can I do? What can I kind of cook up here to get Mr. E on that back foot, like in games 1 and 2, and walk away from it?
Yeah, back to PS2, something we have seen JeJaJeJa on before. I think up against Regalo on the Lucas, if I'm remembering correctly.
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, granted,
so many games.
Chances are you're going to see PS2 in like half of these sets because it's such a beloved stage. Great starter as well, and a great start for JeJaJeJa to be able to kind of take this one back. A nice back air for the first kill. Behind us, Valorant just finished off, just concluded there.
Canada on top.
Canada on top. Our former school, Jobin St. Clair, just winning Valorant right there. Congrats to them. JeJaJeJa still in control of center stage. Mr. E actually just standing there waiting now because he realizes he really needs to wait to hit this nair to start off these combos. He can't let JeJaJeJa have his way around the stage. Yeah,
just like this, JeJaJeJa, a great job. It just feels like every time Mr. E maybe gets something going for him, JeJaJeJa finds the read, finds what he's looking for, and then he starts to lay an absolute whooping on him, and he is continuing to do so right now. He's got a lot of unanswered damage the last couple of seconds. He is trying to find the second stock. Mr. E is just trying to get anything done this game.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I just wasn't expecting this coming out of JeJaJeJa because Mr. E had such a strong game in that last game, in game 3. And here we are, tournament point on the line, tournament life on the line, and JeJaJeJa is just violating.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is how you close the series out. When you go up 2-0, it's okay to drop one, then you go, okay, now I am going to make adjustments. I'm going to show you this should have been a 3-0. I'm going to absolutely put it on you, and he has done a fantastic job of that. Nice job by Mr. E, is going to grab the stock. Basically had to have it right there, otherwise this game was going to get very, very out of hand very quickly, but JeJaJeJa still looking to do the same old, because it has continuously worked for him.
And the stock Mr. E does grab. Another situation where you up B enough times, JeJaJeJa's got to miss the tech eventually, right? Like, he's got to not make it back eventually, sends him to the blast zone, but Mr. E still in a devastating situation. Able to snap to ledge, even a little bit of a spike there. Kirby, though. Kirby with that recovery.
Yeah, you just inflate yourself and then go right back up, but Mr. E, 2 stocks in a row. Don't look now. Still over 100%. It's still a very, very tall order, but the game is at least playable now. You at least have a chance, and once again, so good at stopping that.
Yeah, perfect timing on it, but the ledge evades his grasp, and JeJaJeJa has taken it 3-1, moving in to losers quarters. Mr. E, that's going to be the end of your tournament run here today. A nice run regardless. You played in multiple events here this weekend. You made it all the way to that top 8 with some absolute hitters.
Top 8 out of 220.
Yeah, top 8 out of 217 total entrants. Basically 220. I've been like
yeah,
saying that, but
nice
217 is the exact one there. But you made it to top 8. You got to be proud of that regardless. JeJaJeJa has just been absolutely running the tables, and it's crazy.
JeJaJeJa and Zap are like my two, like, I don't want to be biased, like my two favorite stories of the weekend, I think.
I know, and I'm literally remembering too the match against Regalo, and I'm just thinking like I still can't believe Regalo won that with the insane ending that it was because of how strong JeJaJeJa has been. But I think that also just shows how insane the winner side of this bracket is. Sonics, Lima, Zap, and Regalo. Those 4 are just insane, and they have been showing us all weekend. Zap, you mentioned him too. He's had